I've listened to what you've had to say, and heard what you said about your father putting you through the private school system and being made redundant, etc. And in a way, I had a very similar experience. I failed my 11 plus, went to a secondary modern that very quickly became a comprehensive. My wife also went to the same school. We had 2 kids. I've always been a pretty entrepreneurial guy and sort of did quite well in life. But we decided to put our kids through private school. And at one time, my business collapsed. And I said to my wife then, and my son was probably 13 and my daughter was about 15. I said, well, the first thing we do, we take the kids out of school. And my wife said, no, the last thing we do is take the kids out of school.
Gosh.
And, you know, we soldiered on through.
My dad would have been the same as you.
Yeah, I got myself on my feet pretty quickly.
Sure.
And the point is that today my son is a partner in a top 40 accountancy firm. My daughter is a child psychologist. And that is all down to their education. And as for VAT on school fees, that is ridiculous because speaking from my own experience, I wasn't a burden on the state for education. I took my kids into the private system and therefore...
Yeah, but that's it in a nutshell, Lawrence. Is speaking from your own experience, the suggestion that it should cost more is absurd. But what about the possibly millions of people in this country that would be accountants in top 40 firms if they'd had the education your son had? How can that possibly be fair?
It's not fair, but life isn't fair.
But the job of, you could argue, governments is to make it a bit fairer.
You could argue that, but the reality
I would argue that, actually. I think,
but the reality is that you're not being realistic because, you know, why did I succeed in my life? Because I'm entrepreneurial, because
except for the bit where you didn't.
Yeah, you're right. But then again, I jumped back on the horse and did something else. And
does that make you more valuable than a soldier or a nurse?
Makes me no more valuable
except
than anyone else.
And then because you chose, well, it is because you're talking about the money that you made. You chose a path where wealth accumulation was prioritized over fairness or altruism or other things.
Actually, it wasn't. It wasn't. The only reason that I worked so bloody hard at the time...
But this is where you make me uncomfortable, because there's so many people listening to this programme who work, to use your phrase, bloody hard, and will never achieve the sort of earnings that private education
can allow. But they're not, they're not entrepreneurial. And by the same token...
they're altruistic or vocational.
But by the same token, I could have failed. I mean, I was lucky in that I didn't fail.
Yeah, so you're talking about advantage and luck being handed on to your children.
That's life. That's life, I'm afraid.
Of course it is. And the role of a Labour government is to bring in some checks and balances for the greater good, rather than the benefit of children like ours.
Well, if that's what you think, good luck to you.
What do you think the role of a Labour government is?
I think the role of a Labour government is to give handouts where they're not necessarily deserved. Have we got onto handouts? Okay, here's the thing. Because I am more successful than you, I can afford to pay the VAT, so your children can just go swing. I'm not saying that.
I am.
I'm not saying that.
I'm more successful than you. I can pay the VAT without. I can pay it easily. So it's just tough luck on your children. It's because I work harder than you.
So what you think?
No, I work harder than you. That's all. I work bloody hard, and I can afford the VAT easily, and if you can't, that's tough.
That's got nothing to do with it, James.
That's your argument.
Not an argument. No, it's not.
Life's not fair, Lawrence.
No, life isn't fair.
So your kids can't go there anymore, and mine can. That's just tough.
No, well, that's not the argument.
That is the argument. That's my argument. It's not my fault you muffed up your business.
Listen to what I've got to say.
I have.
No, you haven't.
I have.
The argument is that if I am putting my kids through private school, I am not a burden on the state.
No, the argument is it's going to cost you more.
Yeah. So the argument
If you can't
is,
afford it, that's just tough, hard cheddar.
well, you're right there.
See,
yeah.
life's not fair.
No, life
But on this
isn't
occasion, it's your children that suffer, not mine.
fair. That's fine.
Good.